Speaking of guys going on long walks wearing jeans and being fat, we've got the 2025 film The Long Walk, which was Dylan's pick this week.
So The Long Walk is about some dystopian future in America where we are in a civil war or something. And to boost morale, I guess, they decide to send 50 young lads from each state on the longest journey of their lives, and misfortune ensues.
Fun fact. Oh, my fun fact for this one is just book stuff.
Oh.
Boo,
Bad fun fact,
boo.
Tater. Bad fun fact. All right, what'd you rank it?
I'm sitting at a B-.
Oh my god,
Oh, no.
Dylan, how about you?
Is that a bad oh my god, or is that a good oh my god? I'm scared now.
Terrible. Just god-awful. What the fuck is wrong with this guy? What'd you rank it?
I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna be fucking crazy. This is either gonna be really good for me or really bad. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. I gave it a flat S.
Hell yeah, I gave an S-. Jackson,
Let's
how about
fucking
you?
go!
I'm certainly closer to Tanner than I am to you guys. I'm at a B+. I'm like in between a B+ and an A-, I think. Because
Damn.
Okay.
I'll just immediately get into it. There are things I really liked about this movie, and I will say the emotional stuff absolutely worked on me 100%. I thought the ending was great and really representative of our characters. But there's just a lot of kind of contrivances, and like the structure of the movie just kind of took me out of it in a lot of instances. Like there were points where I was invested in the character drama and I like our characters, but it was just a little goofy and there's some stupid things. And it just pulled me out of the movie a lot. And that just kept happening. It's a very immersive movie, but there was things that just kept yanking me out of that experience, which inhibited myself from like enjoying it as much as I think I could, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually interesting. The ending for me is like one of only the real parts of this film I wasn't a huge fan of.
Interesting.
Really?
Yeah, that was the part that was kind of holding it back a bit for me, because, like, it's weirdly ambiguous, despite the rest of the film being, like, so straightforward and everything that's going on. So I just wasn't a huge fan there. As well as just, like, I'll talk about the characters later, but for now, the only character who I didn't really love was the Major. By the way, I didn't fucking realize while watching this that was Mark Hamill. Oops. Anyway, I didn't really love him that much. He felt very one note, so I would have liked to get a bit more from him. And just like for the story in general, I really would have liked for it to give us a much greater reason to hate him. Because, like, you know, obviously we can understand why the characters don't like this guy and want him dead. But, like, I would have liked for him to be much more antagonistic in some way to make us really fucking hate him and for the audience ourselves to want him dead as well.
That's one of the things I didn't like about the movie is that they, like, tout him to be like this massive fucking total dickhead, but they just don't really do a lot of world building. Like,
exactly.
Obviously, this is like some total dystopia they're living in. They don't really flesh it out at all outside of like some minor flashback scenes. And all we get to hate this guy is that he's like the fucking father of like his bastard son, and that guy doesn't like him, but like who cares about that guy? He's like barely a character.
I think the much bigger reason to not like him is the fact that he killed like our main character's father.
I was gonna give more fucking examples, dude. Okay. I was gonna give more examples. Just stop me when I said one singular example.
This is all the only reason we gave.
Yeah, and I was gonna. Okay, you misinterpreted the way I was gonna attempt to structure that sentence. But regardless, there's very little reason for us to really dislike the guy. Obviously, he plays a lot more of a role in presumably the dystopia of the world they're living in, but they just don't expand upon it at all. So it just felt kind of flat in a lot of those moments.
Yeah, it did leave me kind of wondering, like, what exactly is his role in this world? Because it's like he's a major, so it's like, well, he's like some higher ranking military guy, but like is
he like the fucking dictator of the whole thing? Tanner, please tell us. I assume they expand upon it in the movie. Please, we're dying to know.
In the book.
I'll preface what I'm about to say with like just straight up, the book definitely dramatically lowered my opinion of this movie, or what my opinion probably would have been had I not read the book.
Boo! Fucking nerd, stop reading then.
All right.
And attached to that is kind of like, I think one of the big problems is that the book is dramatically more subtle in everything it does than this movie, and I think it's really to this movie's detriment. Like, for example, the problem with the world isn't really spelled out in the book. We get very small hints that there was maybe some kind of big conflict of some kind, but we're still not super sure. And with the Major, he's very different in that, like, the Major gives the opening speech at the very beginning, And then he's just kind of like a rumor that they talk about for the rest of the movie. Like, the characters don't see him at all anymore after the thing actually starts. He's just like this, like, mythological figure that they talk about in the book. But yeah, I'd say presumably he's kind of a leader of the country, I guess, in a way. It's very, like I said, with the book is very subtle and very ambiguous, way more than the movie.
Well, it sounds like the movie was also very ambiguous, Tanner. I don't think any of us really got much of a sense of what was happening either. Like, Dylan even mentioned there was a civil war. They only really mentioned that it was a war that happened.
No, at the opening narration. In the opening narration, they specifically say a civil war 19 years ago.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I would like to ask a question. What was your... I'm assuming you watched the movie first and then read the book?
No, I read the book, then watched the movie.
Well, never mind. My question doesn't matter then.
Okay.
You should start doing that, but like backwards, so that your assumption of the media we're actually revealing isn't tainted by prior knowledge.
Yeah, I feel like you reading the book really ruined the whole reviewing process for this, personally.
I disagree. This is the first movie where I'd say me having read the book really substantially impacted my perception of the movie.
I do think Tanner reading it first does give us a more interesting perspective here, because basically all the bad reviews I saw for this film were solely from people who read the book first.
A lot of the reviews that I saw personally were like, yeah, I just think it's boring that we're just watching people walk for hours. And I'm like, what the fuck were you know what movie you're watching?
That's kind of what's funny to me. One of my biggest problems with the movie is I think it is way too fast-paced. Like, given that, like, literally the structure of it is these guys walking forever and we need to feel the, like, psychological and physical trauma that they're enduring, we are just going from beat to beat to beat to beat to beat. We're not breathing very much at all in this movie, to me. Like, and so,
I'm totally with you.
Yeah, I think it really hurts it for me. I'm talking about the movie right now.
Okay, well, I'm just making. I'm trying to figure out where you're making.
Like, obviously, the book feels a lot slower because you're reading it. You know.
Well,
this is gonna maybe be heresy to the two people that really like this movie, but I was actually fucking dying of laughter in the scene where they got to the hill. That was just so funny to me because it was just so sudden. Like, they're just fucking nonstop gunning people down the second they get to a fucking hill. So funny to me.
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, I guess let me say my piece, because I'm obviously... Well, Nico's pretty close, but I'm the highest on this movie. I think that the character interactions were very well done. I think the acting was very well done. I think the emotional set pieces that they had in this movie were very well executed. The whole setup and everything for this world and this environment in the movie is very vague and ambiguous, but I think it sets a lot of... not expectations, but assumptions in our mind. Like, I am assuming that the reason, like, okay, I developed a personal vendetta, I guess, if I was to say it, where it's like, you know, everybody hates the Major. I don't have a reason why, but if I was to surmise and, like, put together my own theory as to why, my only question is, like, okay, so they're putting on, like, this big event where they're sacrificing 50, like, young guys to walk to try and increase morale. Like, sure, they've got some Hunger Games ass prizes at the very end of it, I guess, but like, in what world does it make sense to do that? And so, like, maybe, like, I think even though everybody participates, because it's something they said in the movie, everybody has this, like, probably this thought in the back of their heads, like, why the hell are we killing 50 people every single year to, you know, just increase production for the country? And so there could just be a lot of vehement and hatred behind that, even. And yeah, like, I not to, like, counteract or contradict what you said about the hill scene, I do remember thinking right before that was happening, I was like, all right, we got 50 people. Are they going to show every person dying, like, in a cinematic way? And they did for the most part, but, like, other than that, you know, that scene kind of cleared it up where, like, yeah, then we just kind of see people dying off screen. But it was kind of like that moment where it's like, it puts in perspective, like, okay, there are just gonna be times where it's just fucking mass murder happening, and, like, it doesn't really, like, throw characters off screen without a reason. I also like how this movie just introduces, like, of all things, an antagonist to the whole thing, and if anything, there's probably two, depending on how you want to view it. But I just think the way that they're handling how all of this is happening, personally, I don't know if I'd say this movie was fast-paced, but I think the way that they were handling it was well done. One thing that really got me at the end, as opposed to, I guess, what Nico said kind of ruined it for him, is I did kind of think one of them was going to stop walking at some point, because I didn't think they were going to have an accident, or maybe like it'd be some Hunger Games shit where they pull one over on the big whatever. What got me though, because I thought the black kid was gonna stop moving first, and he did, but then our main character kind of got him to keep moving again, and then psyched him out, and he stopped moving, and then fucking died. So that big gotcha at the end was, I liked it a lot. I think that boosted it in terms of like enjoyment for me, just because like we don't see that a lot where we're with the main character the whole time. We see him develop, we see him like kind of grow and develop, and then they go out in a poetic way, kind of similar to his dad, which I thought was kind of interesting. But
another minor nitpick with this movie, very minor nitpick. It just seemed like an absolutely super easy layup, and they just didn't do it. Whatever the fuck his name is, one of the three musketeers, the dude that had like the fucking nosebleed near the end, and he wanted them to not look at him when he went out, and they just fucking had the camera pointing right at him. Granted, he was off the distance and blurred out, but like, just rotate the fucking camera so that you like have the audience respect the wishes of the guy as well, you know? It's just
I was
super minor
literally
thing.
about to say, I think they put a bit too much emphasis on like showing us these guys get shot. I think it would have been more emotionally effective if we're not looking at the deaths and we're hearing gunshots in the background and stuff like that. Like, really showing how, like, in this society, these guys' deaths are meaningless to them and not even really spectacles in a way.
Yeah, it kind of makes it, I don't want to say manipulative, but, like, it feels like it detracts from the point of the movie when they're just, like, making it like a gore fest kind of thing. Like, I don't need to see a guy get his fucking brains blood out. It seems like it's pointless to what this movie's trying to say.
Yeah, I agree.
I kind of disagree. So, like, we only really get, like, a couple shots of like really visceral shit going on. It's like the first one especially is like real bad, and that's really done to just kind of set the pace for like, okay, this is very serious now. It's all sinking in for not only us, the audience, but also especially the people who are on the walk itself.
I don't think I agree with you there. I think they do it a decent enough amount of times. One thing that's kind of tangential to this and plays into my whole thing about how this doesn't have subtlety, one change they make that doesn't make sense with them like spelling things out a bit more is like, in the book, there's like plenty of people watching them. Like anytime they go into a town, there's like crowds of people lining up to watch them and whatever. And I feel like with what they're trying to go for, it doesn't make sense that they don't have any crowds until the very, very, very end. Like, I found that a bit odd.
I did kind of find that strange, and to kind of go back to what Nico was saying too, with the whole, there weren't a ton of like on-screen gore fest, I kind of disagree as well. I do remember thinking at one point, I was like, damn, I really don't, I am not the biggest fan of gore. You guys remember my reaction to the fucking sadness, that shit fucked me up. This movie is very visceral in its visuals. There were quite a handful of people just getting shot and bleeding out, and plenty of just fucking, not close-ups, but just plenty of shots of people getting fucking headshotted, and we kind of linger on that shot for a second. It is really hard to watch, but I do agree with the sentiment Nico had, where it sets the precedent, it sets the tone, where it's like, yeah, no, this shit's fucking serious, because like, in the beginning of the movie, the major's just like, yeah, if you after your third warning, you get a ticket. And us as the audience is like, oh, they get like a ticket, maybe after a certain amount, they're like kicked out or something. But no, like, the ticket just means they fucking die, which is, like, a huge, like, surprise, when it finally does happen. So I agree, there's a lot of gore, and maybe a little unnecessary with a few of them, but it does set the tone and seriousness of the movie, so I think it's a hindrance and a help at the same time.
One thing, that talking about, like, emotional manipulation, it kind of makes me think of is, like, with the Olsen death, like, they kill the Asian kid, for you guys who don't remember the characters' names. He dies, and then afterwards they're like, by the way, he's got a wife and kids. Isn't that fucked up? And they're like, we're gonna do something nice for his wife or whatever. Which, like, this gets into a big change that I really don't like. So there's a character in the book called Scram. He's like a big hillbilly type, and he's married and has a child. And
Of course you're pissed off they didn't include the big hillbilly, huh?
And he I'm cutting that out. And he
Oh, of course that you're cutting out, you son of a bitch.
I'm just kidding, buddy. And he's like a favorite to win. He's, this big, strong, strapping lad who has something to actually fight for. And he gets pneumonia and fucking dies. And, like, the point I'm making is, like, with that character, we're told before his death he has a wife of kids. We're told even maybe, like, 2 or 3 chapters before his death, hey, he's got a wife and kids, he's got something actually going on. And then he gets sick, and we sit with that for a while. And so when he dies, we're like, fuck, dude, that's so fucked up. But here in the movie, it's like, you already killed the guy. I can't, like, go back and be like, oh, I'm extra emotional now that I know a thing that I'm gonna learn, 2 minutes from now. And yeah, I didn't like how they removed that character, and then, like, they took him getting pneumonia and put it into Stebbins, and then took him having a wife and kids and put it into Olsen. Why? It didn't...
I mean, obviously you can't translate everything one-to-one from a book to a film.
Sure, but it's not like all 50 of the characters we do have are, like, fully explored and whatever. Like, I don't see why they couldn't have... Especially if they're going to do it that poorly. Like it wouldn't be hard to, like, keep those changes and then, with Olsen be like, by the way, I've got a wife and kids or whatever,
You
like,
see,
before
Tanner,
he dies.
The problem here is I totally get it. I understand what you're saying. Unfortunately, I didn't read the book, so I was satisfied with what they had. So, unfortunately, this whole explanation you gave doesn't really mean a whole lot. I don't really know.
I mean, you get how I'm. I mean, even without reading the book, you get how, like,
I do
killing him and then saying, by the way, here's a real reason to be sad about his death is like bad.
I do see what you're saying, of course, but, like, so the thing about his character, though, is that he is someone who's, like, he mentioned several times, I just want to fuck a bunch of girls, and so you wouldn't expect that character to have, a fucking wife already.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. That makes it extra stupid.
I did think about that afterwards, but...
Huh.
I don't think it makes it extra stupid. I think you just don't expect that from him. I certainly don't think he was being serious when he was saying, I just want to fuck a bunch of women. Presumably he would have done something to benefit him and his wife there.
The thing is, like, fucking a bunch of women, like, they might have left that in because that's something that the Olsen character did say in the book. Where he didn't have the wife and kids.
Yeah, sure.
So,
I do think it's funny they have, like, a Data copy. I say Data in reference to the Goonies, if you remember who that character is.
He's just an Asian guy.
Yeah.
He has basically the same list, man.
He's an Asian guy that kind of talks funny. That's like the only similarities you're drawing here, buddy.
Yeah. He reminded me of Data.
Okay, so this film, guys, I gotta admit, this is definitely the movie that's made me cry the most since any film since The Green Mile, I guess. I was in tears, like,
I agree,
probably 4 to 5 times while watching this one. It was pretty bad. It was rough stuff.
Yeah.
So, you guys have talked about the pacing for it. I thought it was rather good. Like, even though plot-wise, the only things happening for the most part is, like, these characters are walking down the road for days. The pacing just never really suffers from it. I was very engaged from start to finish for this one. And like I said, this is a very emotional ride for me. Like, it was very bleak. And the characters I loved a lot. Just the way in which their friendship grows throughout the film is really something. Like, we often see, like, how powerful relationships are between, like, a man and a woman, or, like, between, like, family members, but this film does a really amazing job at displaying just how strong that connection can be just between friends and forming that brotherly bond. It's fucking pathos is what I'm trying to get at here.
Yeah, it's great. I really like this movie for that reason. Yeah, I unfortunately, when I was talking about... Well, I wasn't talking about this movie, but, I was talking to Jackson in a call, and I was like, dude, how many times did you cry watching The Long Walk? And he's like, I haven't watched that movie yet, but now I fear for what is in my future. Jackson, did you cry at all watching this movie?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
There was a couple emotional scenes that got tears out of me. I will say I agree with Nico hard as fuck. I think the thing that sold me the most on this movie was just our character interaction, specifically with our two main guys. I thought it was really touching. I really liked seeing their friendship blossom, especially with how it led to the ending of the movie. It was really engaging. I think it was really well done. I think those two actors did a great job as well, for the most part.
Yeah.
It sold me, dude. I was in on their friendship, dude. I wanted to see them both succeed. I thought it was great.
Yeah, which makes it all the more heart-wrenching when we do see these characters end up getting killed off, or just, their bodies inevitably quitting on them due to how intense this whole thing is. And just our main cast, they all feel very real. The way in which these dudes are just like joking around and giving each other shit, it's very much so, this is just guy stuff.
The camaraderie is great, and I don't know if I can posit this movie for having unique deaths, I guess, and I only mean that in the sense of they don't really choose to kill the majority of the characters in the same way. We kind of see each character get like their own kind of death, I suppose, which in the grand scheme of things can mean nothing, but I think it was, felt like something they give thought to. Like I said towards the beginning of this review, what pisses me off is when I was looking at other people's reviews of this movie, it wasn't necessarily in reference to the book. It was people criticizing this movie for only being walking. And it's like, I don't know what else they would do.
Dude, they did shitting as well. They shit as well.
But yeah, obviously. That's a big draw point that these people missed. But it's like, yeah, like, if you don't want to watch a movie about somebody petting their cat, don't look up videos of people petting their fucking cats. Like, you know what you're signing up for in this movie. The people are focusing on the wrong fucking thing. Like, I'm getting off on a nonsensical tangent, but yeah, the camaraderie and all that kind of shit, the character building, solid stuff.
I just think that sounds like people who getting way too caught up in like what the actual plot of this thing is, rather than like, the fucking story of the damn thing.
Yeah, they don't want to think and feel. They want their brains to be tickled.
I like my brain getting tickled. And this movie did tickle my brain.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. I like the fast camaraderie thing that this movie does, especially just like, especially with our main characters, Ray, Garrity, and McVrees. The fact they literally just meet at the entrance and are like, guess we're friends now. I think that's fun. I like that. Personally, I'm not a big fan of the ending. The whole tricks him to keep going and then just lets himself be killed. I don't like it all that much. And the way that the very, very ending of the book and the movie are very different. And I think I prefer the book because the one major difference is Garrity, our main character, is the one who wins. McVrees just kind of gives out and dies. And then it ends with Garrity, the major, tries to go and congratulate him. And Garrity just keeps on walking and he sees like a dark figure in the distance. And then it just ends there, which I think I prefer. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all of my thoughts, unless, I want to actually, let me bring up, since I mentioned I bring it up, casting decisions. Yeah, obviously they race swap a lot of characters, This book was written in 1979 by fucking Stephen King. They're all white in the book, except for I think there's maybe 2 people that are mentioned to be black, and there's 2 Native American characters, and that's it. Where are you gonna find a black guy with the last name McVrees? That's not even one of the common Irish names, come on. But I don't think that's a huge deal, especially because they do a good job. Olsen I find annoying, but that's also kind of his character, so I can let that slide. The one casting decision that I think is really, really stupid, especially in the context of, the vibe this movie is doing, is, it's supposed to be this horrible apocalypse with this really oppressive, tyrannical government, and, and everything sucks and whatever. We got female soldiers? Huh? What?
This guy fucking hates women. Oh my god. To
I'm
put a
surprised
woman
that-
in a
You
film and he can't stand
You see
it.
what I'm fucking saying, though,
No,
right?
I
That
don't.
is-
No,
What's wrong with
not
that?
at
That's
all.
not- what?
What?
That is not something a tyrannical government would have. Normal governments usually don't have female soldiers. So, if you're trying to have this, dystopian future, why is it, why is it a gender-inclusive military?
They gotta take what they can get. Think of it that way.
I don't
No,
fucking
that's
track, Tanner. I'm
stupid.
not even gonna lie. I'm
Oh my
genuinely
God.
curious at this point what the fuck your rating of this movie would have been if you hadn't read the book or at least done it in reverse order, because this is so disappointing.
Reverse order, he says.
Yeah, watch the movie first and then read the book.
Yeah, no, but it's funny to use the phrase reverse order because it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
Jackson, your stance on the female soldier thing. Let's hear it.
I mean, I get where Tanner's coming from. The big thing is, with these types of dystopias, where it is specifically, a lot of people in the military, I assume the like need, or not the need, but the want to be in the military would be pretty fucking high, especially with the economy's down. Most of the time, lots of men sign up for the military. So I assume they're not just letting in fucking anybody, and it's probably they're going to be going for, the better candidates, which are 99% of the time men. So I get where Tanner's coming from, but in the end, I don't really give a shit. I didn't even fucking notice. It didn't take me out of the movie at all.
I just think it's like incongruous with what they're going for in the world building.
I couldn't disagree more. I don't think it's a problem at all.
I don't think it matters at all. I think it's a side detail that means nothing at the end.
Okay.
Like, if one of them was a child or something, then sure, but they had a fucking 4-year-old holding a rifle just gunning people down, that would have been very immersion breaking, but...
I think women soldiers are equivalent to child soldiers.
What's that line about guns, Tanner? What are they?
They're the great equalizer.
They sure are.
Anyway, I really wish Stebbins said his line where he's like, well, the real reason we all chose to do this is because we want to die. That's a great line. They should have kept that one in.
I was really expecting at the end, when he was about to get shot, he would have said something about, him being his dad. I don't think it would have mattered. I think it would have had a little bit of an emotional impact. But, like, literally anything. He could have, like, right before he got shot, he could have said something like, goodbye, dad, or something. I don't know. I don't know what they put there, but...
Even, that's a decently big difference. So Stebbins is the second one to die, actually. McVrees goes third, and then it's Stebbins and Garrity left. I also Nico, I think it was Nico? Someone kind of mentioned it with Garrity being... He's a bit of a chubby guy. I feel like they didn't really sell me on why he's able to last as long as everyone else.
He has more fat reserves.
Yeah,
he's spirited and has more of a drive than probably anybody here to kill the fucking Major.
Yeah. I like Barkovich. I think they handled that character pretty well.
They really made it easy for you free. Like, for basically zero evidence, they really gave you a reason to fucking hate the guy.
True, but I also think they did a good job at showing us how, like, from his perspective, he was just kind of rage baiting the guy and didn't mean for him to die. Like, I can believe that character believed that to be the case. Mm-hmm. And two changes I think were smart of them. In the book, they have to walk at 4 miles per hour. Definitely not realistic for, 5 or 6 days. And then Barkovich, his death specifically, in the book it says he tears his own throat out. I don't know if that's really a thing. Maybe if you're, like, motivated enough, but, that was, like, day 4 or 5. I think him stabbing himself with a spoon makes more sense in the movie. Yeah. And then one change I don't like as much is in the book, it's like a rule that they cannot interfere with each other. Like, if they put their hands on each other at all, they get shot. And I think that's better just because, like, it introduces this layer of isolation, whatever. Like, they do help each other, but it's in the encouragement sense where they're, like, going like, dude, you gotta get up, you gotta go. It's not like them, lifting up and physically dragging each other, which I think I slightly prefer.
I could take or leave that. I do kind of agree. It kind of defeats the purpose of, like, a endurance contest if you're just carrying people.
Yeah.
But, like, towards the end of the movie, I kind of just forgot about it and didn't really care.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's not something I really mind particularly. Well, fellas, do we have any further thoughts on The Long Walk?
No, I don't think so.
Talk about that movie.
That was certainly a long talk.
I liked this movie. It is not a perfect movie, but I enjoyed my time with it. I think I'm gonna go with my lower of my rank and keep it at a B+.
It is not a perfect movie, but it is mine. I'm sticking with an S. I really fucking like this movie.
Yeah, I mean, just due to how profoundly it made me feel, I feel I gotta give it an S- here.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm willing to bump it up to a B.
Whoa,
my man! It's so funny to see Tanner and I so close, even though it feels like we're so far with how we talked about it. Anyways, it lands at a solid A overall.
Not too shabby.
Still a good rank, dude. Still a good rank.